This is the Norris Group's Real Estate Investor Radio Show, the award-winning show dedicated to thought leaders shaping the real estate industry and local experts revealing their insider tips to succeed in an ever-changing real estate market. Hosted by author, investor, and hard money lender, Bruce Norris.
Hi, thanks for joining us. My name is Bruce Norris, and today our special guest is Aaron Norris.
Howdy.
Aaron is, there he is. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm good, and this is the very first show that we are taping with you in Florida.
That's right. I am sitting in what will be my office, surrounded by boxes that have not yet been unpacked. So it's definitely new feeling, but I'm actually really excited to be here. Alex Serrato is the builder that I've used in California for many years, and he's building homes very successfully here. We've got something like 20 some going on, and most of the homes when they're done are pending in a day. So I'm excited about what we've got going on here. So they stepped in and painted the home that we moved into, and so now all we have to do is get these boxes put away and feel like it's home.
You've been talking about moving to Florida forever. I think it was one of those moments where we're like, yeah. He is always saying he's moving to Florida. And then July, you guys said, we're moving. You went to Florida. You very typical to dad fashion. He puts a home in escrow while he's there. And then within a month, he's gone. It was the craziest thing I ever saw.
That was after bluffing about Vegas for a couple times too.
Right? You psyched everybody out.
Well, part of the bluff there, of course, was the attraction of not having a tax bill. So Vegas wasn't a very attractive alternative, though, to me, because I'm not a big fan of Vegas, and I'm not a big fan of a one business town. And so that's kind of playing out, actually. You have this coronavirus. Alex Navarro, who I drove back from California to Florida with in the car, he stopped off in Vegas. And it's a ghost town. And man, when you have a town wrapped around one business, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, they had one of the highest unemployment rates, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, that's still, as long as they're going to shut those down, that's going to be true. So, I've dealt with business in Florida ever since Alex moved to Florida, and we had one of the large hurricanes, Hurricane Andrew. I think that was 92. So ever since 92, I've had money in Florida doing something, either building new houses or, in the most recent round, I built my rentals. And then Sandy, my wife, has started having rentals. So it's really been a move that was long in the tooth, and then an immediate of immediate interest to make a decision. But that's when I buy houses, it's not uncommon that I find what I'm looking for in a day. So that is not uncommon.
It really isn't. That's what I know you best for. It's just like, yep, I did it. I bought it.
Well, it's not just buying houses, it's ideas too. It's like we have an idea of what we got going on in the Norris Group, and then all of a sudden, I'm doing this. And it's like, okay, fire drill.
Yep. The Norris, we call it the Norris fire drill. Well, I think there's some, I've gotten a lot of feedback from people already because I posted on Facebook that final picture that actually Karen Hall and I were doing lunch in Riverside, and she just happened to be here when you were literally getting in the car to go to Vegas, and everyone was probably the post I've had the most engagement with ever. So I think people were a little bit shocked, and they're like, oh my gosh, is the Norris Group shutting down? And I just,
Oh, well, that's sad. First of all, my part in the Norris Group on a daily basis is not what everyone thinks it is. I mean, the reason I'm not busy, this is a conversation I have a lot of times. I know you're so busy, I don't call. I'm probably the least busy person at the Norris Group on a daily basis because I don't really have anything to do with processing the loans or talking to people about loans. That's all been handled for years by Craig and Robin, Rhonda. You, Aaron, you set up all of the technical things that I couldn't do. So I never really had a part in that. what I've had a part in and what I will continue to do is stand in front of an audience and talk about the California market. And part of the conversation of the California market is maybe you don't want to keep all your stuff here. That's a pretty natural transition because I did it myself. And that's, usually what happens is when I get involved in something like even the timing reports, I had to figure out the timing stuff for myself because I just, I didn't understand why it changed so much. So it's a pretty natural conversation to have. Well, maybe you should move some of your assets to Florida because it's what I did in advance of that, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it really made my life very sane. And I feel like I don't have all my eggs in the basket of a state that I think is going to be searching hard for revenue. And that makes me nervous because of the power that they have, because of the recent developments, they seem to have more power than I realized they ever had. And so the way you get revenue as a state is you chase people that make income or you chase people that have assets. And that's just a little uncomfortable to have all my eggs in that basket. So I'm really glad I don't. Yeah,
maybe there was a misconception that, number one, you weren't going to be back very often, and you weren't going to speak anymore, and maybe we've been a little slow on the loan side. That's actually been not true. We've been very busy. A lot of our Wall Street competitors were out of the market very quickly when the coronavirus first happened. And I don't blame them for being a little bit more tepid as they come back into the market. Because how are you a lender nationwide, some of these Wall Street companies, and in states like California with the moratoriums on evictions and foreclosures tied to the local state of emergency, it is very difficult to have a business where that's the case. So it's going to be really weird to watch this as it plays out. But, the Norris Group is still doing loans in California. You moving doesn't mean that we're shutting it down. Yeah.
No, that's crazy. I mean, I own the building that we're in. I collect rent, so I certainly hope the Norris Group still continues to pay that. And it of course it will. It's a very sound business. We have a very loyal customer base. I can understand the misconception, but part of why I wanted to go to Florida, it doesn't hurt to have eyes on what's going on. So I can do that. I can do that one day a week. I literally live in an area around Sarasota. Take me about an hour and a half to the furthest point of where we're building. And I can do that in a day, go see what we got going on, talk to Alex Serrato on the way back because he's in another area. So I'll have activity, but I intend to come in quarterly and speak. So when we do have those talks available again, I miss that. I miss that. But you know what? What it'll mean is that maybe more people will come because they realize, okay, he's not available every week like he was before. So we'll probably be able to reach as many people. We'll just put it in maybe 4 weeks a year, come out once a quarter and see everybody and, hang around with you. And my brother Dwight's already told me last night he wants to move to Florida. So I think that's going to be some of the transition that happens is that the numbers just make more sense here. So, I mean, I don't mind retiring in Florida, so that was part of it. It was a little early. No, I'm not retiring, but I think I've landed in a house that I will retire in an area that I'll retire in.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, it does. To me, it makes sense. And it's been long. It's been a long process, too. This hasn't happened just because I bought a house to live in one day. The process to move assets to Florida was a kind of a long thought out process. And it's been an ongoing process getting to know local people. And that's still in progress. I'm not an expert on Florida. And you know what? The more I became knowledgeable about California, the less expert I felt about it. Even though we've had really good reports and projected things, nothing like putting 2% mortgage rates on the front of a cover and having it actually become true.
Yeah, and that $40 trillion in debt just might come true too. So.
Remember what Doug told you though. Don't look surprised. Don't act surprised.
Well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. It's been that part of my real estate career I never even thought would occur, because I was just trying to figure out stuff for myself. And then, Aaron, when you came along with your expertise in being able to put reports together, it started looking like Goldman Sachs was putting it together, which was, that was the big kick. Those reports, when you sit there and you line them up, that's probably the coolest set of reports about what's next for California ever done. And you were a major part of that for sure. So that's been so much fun to create with you.
Oh yeah. And it's been fun, the last couple of years with us bringing people to Florida. I think there's a misconception there that Florida is right for everybody. And for the people that don't understand, we're not telling people, Florida is the place. It's just is a specific strategy. It's buy and hold. The numbers make more sense. And I've done it as well. Would you still flip in California?
Well, again, would I still flip in California as if I was there full time? Sure. I mean, there's always opportunities to do that. Mm-hmm. I don't fear a big downside in real estate. I don't see a glut of foreclosures. I don't even see the willingness to foreclose, period. They're like, let's have a moratorium on payments. And okay, that's kind of what I thought the spirit would be. It's hard to have a price hit when you don't have a glut of foreclosure. So I don't see a bunch of price damage. And I actually saw, now they're going to charge a couple of points when you get the loan, but there's interest rates floating around now, 1.99.
I saw that.
For a 30-year fixed loan, but you got to pay 2 points.
Well, that looks a lot prettier in Florida.
That's right. 1.99% on a 30-year mortgage. Yeah, well, that's the thing about the product that we're building. It depends on the finishes and if it has a pool and stuff, but the rental product comes out, maybe it's worth, we got one of those and it's probably going to get put up for sale here in a week or so at $245. We fully expect it'll be pending in a day. If we put the pool and all that stuff in, that sold, we thought that was going to sell for $340 and it sold for $355. We have another one that's a little bit bigger, that again with the pool and spa, we thought it was going to sell for $389 and they went out at $420. So we're having really good profit spreads and we're having a market reaction that's really positive. So we have a lot of those going on. So it's just, I'm glad I'm here because the prices are just different. When you put together the pieces, okay, how much did the lot cost for that $400,000 house? $9,000? Are you kidding me? It's just crazy. The builder that's building the stuff in Florida that we're flipping, we built a house in Riverside. The last one was on a dirt road. I think the lot cost was $85,000. The dirt road was so rough that if you went 10 miles an hour, all the change would fly out of your holder. Well, we sold that in a day too, but it's just you had $150,000 in it before you had anything that was structural into the permits and the dirt, and it was just, that's California. So the numbers are better, and the business model. So I'm big on a business model that's going to be ongoing. I see. Well, it was really crazy, and Joey mentioned this in one of the shows we recently did. I had an aha moment on a chart that I've looked at for 30 years, which is a little silly to wait that long to figure out something, but I did. And the population gain in California is still an impressive number, but then you say, one day I thought, I wonder what it's made up of. Isn't that silly to wait this long? But I did. Well, what it's made up of is almost 100% babies being born over people dying. So 100% of the gain for California is made up of that. And the adult world is leaving California. We were getting boxes and wrapping stuff at U-Haul, and they had a sign on the door, no walk-ins allowed. And that wasn't about the coronavirus. That was about, we have no trucks. Mm. Wow. I never seen that. And so people are leaving California that are adults. So that's That's the demand side of rents and buying, to me. Now go to Florida. If you look at the migration gain, it's about 90% migration within the 50 states and immigration from other countries. That's what makes up Florida's population gain. Well, that's a great business model. You have people coming that are adults, ready to rent, ready to buy, and they have a population that's over 20% senior. When you go from 65 to 85, your caretaker number goes from 2 to 7 people. That's a big deal. That's like a locked and loaded business model to attract high-paying jobs in the future. I like that. And that's why Florida. I mean, it's got a coast. It's got reasonable lot prices. Do I think it's going to turn into California, explode in price? I don't. I don't care either. This is you asked the good question. Is it for everybody? The answer is no. And that's why when we do those Florida boot camps, is that I have an hour interview with each person, and I help them determine if Florida's right for them. And there's been any number of cases where I've said, I don't want you to go on the boot camp because this isn't for you. I can tell you that. And some people fight that, and then they.
You've hurt several people's feelings.
From what I've heard from them, it's a bad idea for them.
Yeah.
But for most people have a lot of real estate that has exploded in price. We bought it in the last downturn, so 2009 and 10, we were loading up on stuff for 80 grand. Now it's magically worth 250 plus. You can't tell me that 250 house or 300 grand house is better located than what's brand new in Florida, and the numbers would be better for you. So that's kind of why Florida was of interest to me. I had the lousy Moreno Valley area houses and transferred that to new houses in Leesburg. And my life's been really pretty boring, very regularly cashing those rental checks and very low maintenance on new houses. So that's what attracts me to it, and that's why we suggest it to others.
And that migration gain that Florida's going to get, they're not like you where they're going to just show up and buy houses either. So they're going to rent for a year or two till they figure out where they're going to stay, where they like. And that's why the rental portfolio looks good there too, right?
That's right. That's a very common thing to do. As a matter of fact, let's say you're a nurse. Oddly enough, you might get a cold call from a place like Leesburg. You could be in Texas and say, how about you migrate to Leesburg? We have a need for an RN, and we'll pay you more than normal. Just come in. And that's exactly what happens, Joey. People come there, they rent for a year or two. When I lose renters, it's nearly 100% of the time they just found the house they're going to buy. They know the area now, and they're going to buy a house. That's exactly right.
I haven't sold everything in California. Partly it's just because I bought them for so low. I know that I'll probably never be able to buy them at that rate again. I've got a sub 4% interest rate. It's hard to give those things up. Would I make a little bit more on the cash flow in Florida? Yes. But I wasn't ever planning on bringing everything over to Florida either. But it's good because I think some people just think that we're giving up on California, and it's not the case. We're still funding in California.
No, and that's not even the case for myself. I've got a building. Obviously, I have a rental house. I've got 5 building lots that I'll probably sell at some point. But if I was worried about the future of California and the decline in price, I'd be hesitant to be aggressive doing loans. I don't feel that way at all. I really don't. I don't think real estate is going to take a hit this cycle because of the interest rates, and because you can just tell the Fed policy is not going to be aggressively going after people that can't make their payment because of this coronavirus. They're just going to be very patient, and it's very smart.
It's going to be fun to follow the trends over the next year as people realize that they can work and educate from anywhere. So as far as the California schools, at least it looks like they're going to be out till at least January. I know some friends that are employed at universities, and they're just talking about 2021 also being a dead year, that they're not planning to return until fall of 2021. So the winners and losers across county borders, across inventory type, across areas with specific job categories. You know, what if you have a city like Riverside with 4 universities that aren't going to be seeing those 50,000 students? There's just so many things that I'm watching and I'm fascinated.
Your ADU is going to turn into your office or your classroom now.
Right. You might not rent those out. You're like, man, I'm going to be able to get it right off now. I'm going to be working from home. I've got my own space. I think Sean Tool talks about that. It's like, I'm looking around and saying, I really don't like this place. I'm going to move. And then you look across the aisle and be like, I've been quarantined with you and I don't like you. So demand through divorce. That's weird.
I like my wife. Just in case you're listening, Jenny.
Well, I mean, it's really a strange thing that living in Florida becomes less of a big deal because of the tools that you have and that you can pass on to me. So I can sit on my desk and we can have a conversation, you know, once I get internet in my home, and it'll seem just like normal.
Yeah,
the distance really doesn't matter.
Let's get into that, how I ended up at PropertyRadar. It all sort of started because of the coronavirus, but I guess first, let's cover the power of goals. I think you taught me the power of goals at a very young age, and I just shined it on. I remember you giving me a book while I was in New York City, and I'm like, Dad, I'm going to be a Broadway guy. I don't need this goal stuff.
I'm a star.
Exactly. And what's funny is I wrote down, I use something called the Full Focus Planner. I've been using it for years, and it's completely changed my life. I had no idea I was so obsessed with checking things off. It's magical. But one of the goals was that I was going to start a third hustle. So the Norris Group, my rentals, and then I wanted a challenge. I wanted something just on the side. So
Herbalife was out of the question?
Herbalife was out of the question, correct. No Cutco knives. That's not my scene.
Well, that's going to wrap up part 1 of our interview with Bruce and Aaron Norris. Please be sure to catch us next week for more.
For more information on hard money loans and upcoming events with the Norris Group, check out thenorrisgroup.com. For information on passive investing with trust deeds, visit tngtrustdeeds.com.
The Norris Group originates and services loans in California and Florida under California DRE License 012-19911, Florida Mortgage Lender License 1577, and NMLS License 1623669. For more information on hard money lending, go to thenorrisgroup.com and click the Hard Money tab.